We are living in a visual world, a stasis world of 60 Hz. Our production and creativities are ruled by such culture. We are living in an acoustic world, a dynamic world of 44,000 Hz. Waves are emitted, transmitted, and received, invisibly shaping our minds. Sound, the most intangible and plastic medium in our surroundings, a perfect compound of mathematics and perception. It evokes our internal feeling through vibration, through textures, through acoustic space, voice, nature, music, broadcast, internet. Even though we are shifting to an acoustic world, most of us are watchers, blind to the plasticity and the power of sound. As we become listeners, we will rediscover a world through dynamic, invisible, and perceptual acoustic space. Visual signals construct images. Non-visual signals received by senses can also reconstruct an image in our mind, navigate us through our surroundings. Daniel Kish, the expert of echolocation, give us an answer on how we listen to space.
My name is Daniel Kish, and I'm the Executive Director of World Access for the Blind. Sound is a way of understanding one's surroundings. It's a way of understanding one's surroundings both from the acoustic vibrations that are emitted from things in one's surroundings that make sound, such as right now, birds, off in the distance is a little bit of traffic, and at the moment that's all. There was an airplane and there was a train and there were other things. So things emit sounds. Those sounds are spatialized, so they happen they don't just occur. There's a what and there's a where. So from where do those sounds occur, and how do those incidental sounds define one's spatial surrounding? Every sound denotes an event that has a meaning. And sounds are richly layered in meaning that is encoded in timbre, what the actual sound is, and space, where the sound occurs.
Sounds are emitted, reflected, and diffused by different surfaces in our surrounding.
Another aspect of sound is reflected sound. Reflected sound gives you a whole highly rich set of layering that further defines the space. So it's no longer just a train making a sound, it's the sound of that train bouncing off of, this wall here, or bouncing off of this fence over here, or bouncing off of the house over here. Essentially, once you add reflected sounds, layers of reflected sounds into the mix, now you have the capacity for surfaces that do not make sound, nonetheless sing by reflecting sound that occurs elsewhere in the environment, thereby providing an extremely richly layered and richly nuanced space. And now you have a much more richly defined and richly nuanced sense of surrounding space. Because you're not only hearing origin sounds, but you're also hearing surfaces all around you that comprise or that define the space around you.
As a director of Visionaries organization, Daniel Kish has taught his methodology to many persons around the world with visual impairment. Echolocation reveals a brand new system of recognition for individuals. Meanwhile, our cities have fairly poor awareness of this aspect.
A lot of buildings, especially public buildings, are visually marked up. You've got arrows, you've got signs. They're created with sighted people in mind. They're created to make it easy for sighted people to find their way around. And they're never, ever created to make it easy for blind people to find their way around. Ever, ever. There's never a consideration for that. So a blind person routinely experiences inconvenience in the way things are architecturally designed. It's very hit and miss for a blind person to walk into an unfamiliar space. It could be anything. It could be a bank. It could be a government building. It could be a college building. I mean, an office building, a hotel. Hotels are, they're crazy. It's all about visual presentation, right? And let's say you walk into a lobby and all you have is this great big massive space and no sense of where to go. And so part of it could have furniture, and part of it could have plants, and part of it could have kiosks, and part of it could go to a restaurant. And I mean, those kinds of spaces can be really very tricky for a blind person to sort out. Those kinds of spaces can be very difficult to navigate.
When we talk about city, is it just visual city? When we talk about space, is it just visual space? When we talk about future, is it just visual future? There should be and will be a shift, as Marshall McLuhan has predicted such a dynamic acoustic future in 1970.
One of the big flips that's taking place in our time is the changeover from the eye to the ear. And most of us, having grown up in a visual world, are now suddenly confronted with the problems of living in an acoustic world, which is, in effect, a world of simultaneous information. The visual world has very peculiar properties, and the acoustic world has quite different properties. The visual world, which belongs to the old 19th century, and which had been around for quite a while, say from the 16th century anyway. The visual world has the properties of being a sort of continuous and connected and homogeneous, all parts more or less alike, and static. Things stayed put. If you had a point of view, that stayed put. The acoustic world, which is the electric world of simultaneity, has no continuity, no homogeneity, no connections, and no stasis. Everything is changing. So that's quite a big shift. I mean, to move from one of those worlds to the other is a very big shift. It's the same shift that Alice in Wonderland made, when she went through the looking glass. She moved out of the visual world into the acoustic world when she went through the looking glass.